And an International Women's Day item that also coincides with the CNN Freedom Project coverage of the fight against modern-day slavery. US President Barack Obama has signed an expansion of the Violence Against Women Act. It extends protection to gay, bisexual or transgender victims of domestic violence. It also includes a reauthorization of the Trafficking Victims Protection Act.
Hania Mohib of Egypt has come to the United Nations to fight for the rights of women. At a rally marking the second anniversary of Egypt's revolution, she was surrounded by men and sexually assaulted.
Tens of hands were in every inch of my body. My clothes were, fell all over. And I was screaming all the time. I couldn't even say words, just screaming.
The theme of this year's Commission on the Status of Women is preventing violence against women. Some countries, like Egypt, are fighting to change international agreements to make allowances for culture and tradition.
If you qualify rights by tradition, culture, religion, it means there are no rights, because anybody can say, this is our tradition. After the Arab revolutions, the uprisings and all, there has been a great movement backwards on women's rights in those countries. And I think a lot of conservative elements in the guise of pro-democracy elements have hijacked that agenda.
That agenda is now being pushed at the United Nations. The international community first committed to a strong framework for women's rights at a landmark conference in Beijing back in 1995. Since then, that framework has been used to pressure governments to uphold women's rights. Now, women's groups say that if these delegates make exceptions for culture and tradition, it will reverse those hard-fought gains.
Today's about young women like Ty, who was brought into the sex trade by a neighbor when she was 12 years old. And Ty was rescued with the help of an organization led by trafficking survivors. Today she's enrolled in college. She's working full-time to help at-risk girls stay out of the sex trade. So with this bill, we reauthorize the Trafficking Victims Protection Act to help more girls turn out like Ty. That's what today is all about.
Among other things, the law provides more than $650 million for each of the next 5 years to bolster programs that support transitional housing, legal assistance, and hotlines. And as importantly, it expands protections for immigrants, gays and lesbians, as well as Native Americans, like Diane Milich.
After a year of abuse and more than 100 incidences of being slapped, kicked, punched, and living in horrific terror, I left for good. My ex-husband told me, "You promised us until death do us part, so death it shall be."
If this new law were in effect when Milich was abused, it would have allowed her tribe to arrest and prosecute her ex-husband.
When this bill is signed, the Violence Against Women Act will finally reach Native American women like me.
Vice President Joe Biden has been at the forefront of this fight for nearly 20 years. It was Biden who wrote and sponsored the original law in 1994.
The ultimate abuse of power is for someone physically stronger and bigger to raise their hand and strike and beat someone else. All these links of the chain have made a difference in the lives of women. It's one woman, one girl, one person at a time, one case at a time.